This time round, we've got Into the Hollow, the debut album from Mothman and the Thunderbirds. So, Into the Hollow is the debut album from Mothman and the Thunderbirds, one man sludge and stoner metal project from Philadelphian multi instrumentalist Alex Mothman. Just kidding, his name's Alex Parkinson. But I'd love it if his name was Mothman.
They're a pretty badass name.
It would be. So I think Mothman
Mr.
and the
Mothman.
Thunder, Mr. Mothman, yeah. I think Mothman and the Thunderbirds has probably got a shout for the best band name on the podcast, although this month, although Lone Wolves in Paradise is probably cutting it close. Anyway, the band sent us this. Well, I suppose Alex sent us this like quite a bit before the album actually came out. So we're only just getting to it now, like a month after its release. It came out on the 21st of May. Yeah, so sludge, stoner, and doom are kind of the order of the day here. I'd say they're fairly clear influences from like other realms of metal as well, like Metallica or Machine Head. And, as many kind of those references as there are from the bands like Caius or Black Sabbath, and the sort of doomy end of things. So all of those things are quite evident in the kind of drive of the opening salvo of Mothman takes flight. It's full of the sort of kind of chunky, swaggering riffs of the likes of James Hetfield, Rob Flynn would be proud of, but Mr. Mothman and his Thunderbirds don't wait long to mix things up with a kind of cheeky vocal harmony that's almost ripped from the opening of like a barbershop quartet song or
See,
something.
yeah, and that's the thing. When I first heard that, I was like, it kind of felt as if it might have, it kind of felt as if it could have came from maybe a Tenacious D album or something like that.
Yeah,
And
fair
I
enough.
was like, I don't know if this is what's the word I'm looking for? Like a spoof album. It isn't at all. Like,
Yeah, it's not a spoof album. I mean, one of the
not at
song
all.
names is
No.
"The Simpsons equals real footage," so there is, a little bit of humor in there, but it's very much like serious musicianship.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There are some sort of cheesy kind of metal kind of moments on there in the lyrics and things. So yeah, that first song I think is a really like strong opener. There's just like it's just the riffs on it are so good. And those weird like I don't know where those weird vocals are coming from. It's just like you don't expect them at all. They're just mental, but they kind of work. And there are you've got your typical metal kind of vocals and gang chants like on the album as well. Like a good
Mm.
example is Hollow Earth, but then that experiments even further with like an almost Daft Punk kind of robot voice kind of manipulation on the vocals, which is
Yeah.
as well. And they're like over the top of like really filthy kind of like Alice in Chains like dirt level kind of riffs as well. It's quite yeah, it's tough to get your head around, I would say.
Aye, and I mean, if you look at the Bandcamp page, I think that they kind of well, I say they, but Alex kind of prides himself in saying that no two songs sound alike, and I think that's true. But the album still manages to sound like a cohesive piece of work. It doesn't feel as if like the songs have kind of been shoehorned in. And I think you're right in saying that stoner metal, sludge, and doom, classic rock is very much the kind of order of the day, and there's a lot of that in there. But by the same token, on tracks like Cloud Giant, for example, that came out of left field for me. Like, it almost felt as if that song in particular, I mean, that's quite far down the track listing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that probably wouldn't have felt completely out of place in the likes of a Mumford and Sons album. Like, folky element there. They kind of experiment with kind of prog rock towards the end as well. And rather than dropping that, there's a return to the the opening riffs with this kind of prog rock elements, kind of adding a bit more depth and texture to the song, which, yeah, I really enjoyed. That was one of the standout tracks for me. And although it's a kind of solo project, as you quite rightly said, like he's obviously had help from other artists. I think there's another like 4 artists or something like that who've mostly just provided additional vocals. I think there was maybe one other artist that had provided a guitar solo on one of the other tracks. I couldn't say which one it is. But in terms of The Simpsons equals real footage, I really enjoyed that juxtaposition between the female vocals and that of kind of the kind of quintessentially kind of shouty masculine metalcore howls that you get. And for my money, that kind of reminded me a wee bit of Code Orange at times.
Fair enough. That sort of male female back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not that convinced by The Simpsons equals real footage. It's like a storming heavy metal song, and I kind of get what they're going for, like this big like fanfaring like heavy metal extravaganza. I don't know if the instrumental and the vocals gel that well for me on that song, which yeah, I'm not certain about it. It does have like a pretty awesome guitar solo that will full on like blister the skin from your face. Like so there there's like there's a even when I don't necessarily think the song works that well as a whole, there are bits of it that I do enjoy. You mentioned Cloud Giant sound a bit like a Mumford and Sons, elements to it. It conjured up like the scratch for me, like that
Right.
sort of folk metal kind of thing. And you mentioned classic rock. There's a bit of that classic rock flair on Agarth and Riders, which has got some pretty wild lyrics about like ancient beings coming to rescue Earth from the destruction by their own hands or something. Like,
it's funny because this album comes at a time where I'm rewatching an old. Well, I'm saying rewatching it. It's quite an old documentary series called Ancient Aliens,
right, okay.
which I think has made its or scenes from it has made its rounds on kind of meme pages for quite some time now. And I was trying to decipher out some of the titles and the theories and stuff. Like, I know that The Simpsons equals real footage. Just to go back to that, I know that there's this theory that The Simpsons have predicted the future on more than one occasion. I'm not familiar with Infinite Ocean and Hollow Earth and Hollow. There's another Hollow thing.
Sun, yeah.
Squonk, I think, is meant to be some sort of Australopithecine type of ape-like creature, I think.
Oh, is it? Right, okay. I just like the name Squonk. I think it's
Squonk.
fun to say, but I
It
felt like
is
it's
fun
a
to
little
say.
bit wasted because Squonk is just like a short melodic interlude, and I wanted it to be this like mad, like full-on mental thing. Because
With them
Squonk.
shouting squonk.
I
Squonk.
don't know, but I don't know why. I just wanted it to be bigger, but then
Yeah, it's
that
it's only
turns
like a
into-
minute long or something, isn't it? It's quite short.
it's just like it just built into Rocco's Basilisk, and Rocco's
That's a good
Basilisk is
song,
probably
man.
that's probably the heaviest song on the album, and
Yeah.
it's excellent, like really really good. Just kind of crushes from start to finish.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think along with I think Rocco's Basilisk and the opener are probably my favorite tracks. Some of the vocals here and there are great on some of the songs, like Nomad. There is a good bit in that which has got like really ogre like vocals. Like you think of you ever seen the original Mortal Kombat movie from like the 90s?
I've
And
seen
it's the
bits of it. I
character
will have seen it,
this
probably.
character Goro, and the ogre vocals just sound like Goro, like a vicious like four-armed beast. So it's there are a lot of really good bits in this album, but and I guess I don't know. Hollow Sun is a bit of a weird opener because it's a lot like brighter sounding than most of the other stuff that's on there. It does look like a really cool like spiraling riff in it that comes in and out every now and again, but It's not the strongest ending, I wouldn't have said, but yeah, overall, I think this is a pretty solid album.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of glad that I gave it a third and I think it was actually a fourth listen before I actually sat down and did my notes because I was listening to it at work, and I don't think I was really taking it in. I've been on night shift, so my kind of sleep deprived and addled minds just kind of wasn't really doing it justice. But yeah, there's a lot to enjoy in this album. I think there's a lot of kind of stylistic changes throughout the course of the songs in the album. It makes it quite an interesting listen. And I mean, it's only just over half an hour long. You know what I mean? So you know,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it could have been like a lot of metal albums are like big bloated, like
yeah,
it hasn't got it's like you say it's just over half an hour, so that's good. It doesn't have time to you know do too much, I suppose. Like it
yeah.
does a lot, but it doesn't do too much, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
Doesn't overstay its welcome,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. Okay. On that note, what have you rated this?
What have I given it? Let me have a look at my notes. I've given it a 6 or a 7, actually.
Yeah, I've given it a 7. I think like when it's good, it's really good. And there's like the odd kind of weaker bits that let it down a little for me, but overall, like yeah, it's a pretty good album and definitely worth a listen. Okay, so that was Into the Hollow by Mothman and the Thunderbirds.
We don't finish.